Look strong and like rock. Think Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Oh no.
No, not that rock.
That'd be fun for the thumbnail. Just replace one of us with Dwayne Johnson.
Surely no one will be upset.
Hi, I'm James.
And I'm Emme.
And you have been thrown headfirst into the pool of nerdery that is the Bestiary, Monster Manual A to Z. This week, Emmy, our monster of the week is...
the Galeb Duhr.
the Galeb Duhr. And for a monster with such a cool and interesting name, it's a sentient rock.
It's a rock. They have large potential to be very cool and atmospheric. They have a high enough intelligence. They usually have a name. They exist in a place for large spans of centuries. It's a rock.
To be more specific, an earth elemental.
Yeah.
That has been summoned from the plane of Earth and bound to the material plane. An interesting detail about the Galeb Duhr is that, unlike other elementals, when they are killed, they do not return to the plane of their initial existence. They just stay on the material plane and don't go anywhere. Very often used as guardians, sentinels, because they live for a very, very long time and do not require sustenance or sleep or anything like that. So they're a pretty ideal bouncer.
Yeah. We've gone through here at the Bestiary many, even very recently, creatures that are in here that are used primarily to guard treasure, guard a location, guard a door. They've been summoned very specifically to do that one exact thing. This is one of them. They're not quite as scary or malicious as, for example, if you were to get a flame skull or a spectator hanging around. Their origins aren't as weird and dark. They are a challenge rating 6, so they are fairly formidable. Just as formidable as any of those, but they are significantly less creepy and not nearly as attacky. They usually only will come at you if they think you're a threat, so they're not really aggressive. And if you're just kind of walking through its area, it actually might just share information with you and talk with you for a little bit, if you can speak primordial, of course.
Yeah, and these guys are pretty tough. They, obviously being made of rocks with an armor class of 16, and then obviously they have their slam attack. They have the ability to basically animate the rock and earth around them to serve as like additional armament and weaponry. And they have their rolling charge feature, that if they get enough of a run-up at you, they can do extra damage. Incidental minor detail that I think is great. This is the only instance of an entry in the Monster Manual where it is specifically shown to you that this creature's speed increases if it happens to be rolling downhill. Which I have to say is probably true for most things.
Had no one rolled downhill as a kid in the playground? We're all twice as fast going downhill. It's funny though. I think it's really good to have, again, that level of specificity when attached to this creature, but nonetheless it looks hilarious when you're reading it. There's something just kind of adorable and funny, even though this thing can be kind of intimidating, about the way this guy is built from top to bottom. I mean, if you look at the art on him, he kind of looks like, I don't know, I want to hug him. I know that's weird. I know that's me. But, like, he probably gives good hugs, right?
I mean, I don't know about that.
Maybe not.
That facial expression to me is just like, I'm a big grumpy rock. Brr.
Yeah, like, he gives a good hug, but, like, it's not because he's cuddly or fuzzy. It's just because he's like naturally a good hugger but doesn't want to be. Like, that's what that expression says to me. Yes. There's not a lot of distinct facial features. Like, we've got this crack that's a mouth and the eyes, which really plays into the idea that when they sit down on the ground, they just look like a boulder. That's primarily so it can talk to you. Again, though, I think this could probably be more of a suggestion of an appearance. I think you could really play
definitely
with that. Like, if you were in the Underdark, it could look more like the shale or the limestone that you would see deep underground. Or if you were in a tall mountainous region, maybe it's got some of just the lichen growing upon it of the ground nearby, or it's in the canyon and it's made of the red rock in the area. I don't know. You could have fun with how this guy looks.
I mean, there's also nothing to say that its appearance can't change. I mean, it can blend in seamlessly with earth and rock around it, and so if that's the case, it must be able to some extent, change its appearance. So, maybe it was summoned in one place and was made of one thing, but now it's somewhere else, and so changes its appearance to match its environment.
Quite possible.
Go nuts with it, DMs.
You really could. Again, this is one of those things that's very much a template, and you could have a lot of fun with, again, the location that this is in. Again, because they're not nearly as threatening. Not because they're less scary, just because they're less evil and nasty. You could have a lot of fun with where this has been summoned. I know, for me, the immediate first thing that came to mind was, okay, so the main tavern that in the big town where your party spends a lot of time, maybe this is set outside as a garden. It's just been there for a few generations, and a wizard set
Nobody
it
knows
up.
where he came from. Just, he
just
was
there.
summoned, and apparently his job is to guard the tavern, and that's it.
And that's it. Who knows? Maybe that's a part of the plot. Maybe it's not. They're fun. They're neat. Again, there's a lot of instances where you could fight these. A lot of instances where you could not. Go wild. Thank you so much for joining us this week on The Bestiary. Where do you imagine meeting a Galeb Duhr, and what would they look like? Tell us about it in the comments down below. We'd really love to hear about it. And while you're there, you can check out the links to all of our social media. You can find the link for our Patreon. We love our patrons. All of our work is able to be done through you. Thank you so very much. You can like this video. You can hit that bell to be notified when we have new uploads. You can subscribe. You can watch some new videos here, and join us next week when we talk about gargoyles.